Okay guys, so let's run another example. So this is trying to get information from the graph. So example number 2. So this is a new curve, this is a new function. I'm labeling it g. We did f first, so we'll do g next. F for function, g for g. I couldn't come up with any other letters to call my function. So let's run through the same things that we did before. So we need the domain, we need the range, right? We need any and all x-intercepts, we need y-intercept, and then we'll find a few function values. I'll list those out when we get there. We'll try to run through this one a little bit faster. So the domain here, right, we're essentially moving from left to right, and we're saying what are all of the different like x values that this graph is covering up. So moving from left to right, where does the graph start? Where does the graph end? Are we sort of jumping over any x's in between? So this graph starts back here. This is where? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is x is -4. Put a little label on here, a couple of these. 2, 4. This is another filled in circle, right? So our domain is going to start at -4. We'll use the bracket notation to show that we're including the -4. There's no breaks in this graph. It looks a little bit like a fish hook or a candy cane or something, right? So the curve sort of decreases down, swoops, and then comes back up. And as far as the x's go, right, we're moving -4, -3, -2, yada, 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 0. And we go here to +1. So we're going to go to +1, but the +1 point, right, that last coordinate is the open circle. It's not filled in. So that for us in our interval notation is going to mean a parentheses. For the range, same kind of idea, right? But now we're looking at it from the y perspective. So we're talking about what's sort of our lowest coordinate up to our highest coordinate. As far as the y values go, what's the sort of like lowest value up to the highest value, our sort of minimum value to the maximum value. It looks like here our low point is sort of happening right where we're crossing the y-axis. We'll sort of keep that in mind for later. So that's the y value, 1, 2, 3, so -3. We definitely hit that value, right? So we're going to include -3. We're sort of filled in here. There's not an open circle to signify a gap. As far as the heights go, right, we're sort of then going up through these negative values, -3, -2, -1, 0, and then our maximum height seems to be over here where the function ends. So that's going to be our max height at +1. That's another filled in circle, right? So we'll include it with a bracket. So the domain is -4 to +1. Our range here is -3 to -1. X-intercepts. Do we have any x-intercepts? In this case, we do, actually, right? So we do cross the x-axis over here. This is going to be our x-intercept. So the x value here is back 1, 2, 3. So this is at, right? So -3, 0. Or we can just say x equals -3. Either of those is fine. We can sort of write it either way. I don't quite remember what the homework is asking for, but in theory, either of those is totally acceptable. We just have the one in theory, right? If this was like one of our parabolas and this kept going and came up, we would cross again and get a second coordinate, but this gets cut off for whatever reason, so it doesn't. Y-intercept, we kind of mentioned already, right? We said we're crossing the y-axis down here. So this is also at -3. Right? But this is, of course, at y value, -3, when the x value is 0. So we can write the coordinate 0, -3, or we can just simply write y equals -3. So either of those is perfectly fine. Last but not least, a few function values. So let's do these over here in the corner. Let's just do 2 or 3. Let's say -4, g of -2. Let's do g of +1. Let's fill these guys in. So in theory, right, -4, when x is -4, that's our coordinate here. On the graph, we're up at this point. So the y value there that goes with it is going to be +1. So counting back, 1, 2, 3, 4. Shifting up to the graph, which would be here, and then counting back over to the other axis, the height here is y value 1. For -2, g of -2, so x value -2 are going sort of back 2. The graph is down from there, so we carry this down and then back over to the other axis. So the height there is going to be -1. So our function value g of -2 is going to equal -1. Last but not least, when x is +1, right, so x is +1 is here. The curve itself is sort of down here. This is pretty obviously the point. X is 1 and then the y value is -2, but it's this open circle, right? So if the value is an open circle, that means we don't technically have a coordinate there. Obviously, it's sort of at the y value -2, but it's not going to be included because it's the open circle. So we say D and E or undefined. So that's all the information from this graph for this second